1, Chapter 1. SPOV. Hey? Where am I? I felt like I had just woken up from a long nap. The last thing I remember is finishing the last episode of the 7 Deadly Sins. When suddenly a loud sound came from outside. As each second passed, the sound got louder and louder, and to my amazement, something had crashed into my room. The pain I felt was excruciating, but that wasn't what mattered. I've had my fair share of pain. Here I am now, in the middle of nowhere, completely confused on my situation. Surprisingly, the pain I felt before was gone. Wait, now that I've realized it, I don't feel anything at all. Where's my body? What the hell's going on? Wait, am I dead? Is this some damned afterlife? A couple minutes later, I calmed myself. It would do no good to question the abyss. After calming myself, I began to think about how my father would react knowing I'm gone. He probably wouldn't care anyway. I didn't have any siblings, and I didn't have a mother either. She died in a car accident when I was 6 years old, and right now I'm 19. Ever since that day, father has been drinking and beating the shit of me. He always got together with another woman, and since that day, he has been the worst father I could ever ask for. Having known that he'd lost his wife, and now his son, I wonder how he'd feel. Before I could wander off within my thoughts, I heard a booming voice within my mind, which, if I were to be honest, scared the shit out of me. I wasn't one to get easily scared, but it was completely silent where I am now. Absolute silence, with not a single sound whatsoever. Hello Kenjin, I see you've met a hapless death. Who would have thought a meteorite would crash into your room? Lucky for you, you've been chosen for a new life, said the unknown being within my mind. Are you fucking kidding me? A goddamn meteor, really? How unlucky am I? Hopefully father was caught up in the crash, spiteful bastard. Wait a moment. Did I that hear right? You said I get a new life? Yes, you heard right, a new life. But don't go thinking you're so special. You're just extremely lucky to be picked for this reincarnation. Also, you don't have to worry about your father. Yes, he was severely crippled, but he found a woman who brought him out of his disparaging depression and loved him dearly. They lived the rest of their lives together with love and care, said the voice inside my head. Ah, that's fucking great. I don't have to worry about him anymore, I began thinking about my situation. Reincarnation. This is exactly like those fanfictions I've read before. Do I get any wishes and get to choose my power? I asked within my mind. Yes, you're going to be able to have 2 wishes granted to you. You will also get to decide on the type of world you'll go to, whether it's movies, TV shows, books, anime, manga, or even fanfictions. However, the wishes you will be granted will have some restrictions. For example, you may not wish for any supreme or godly power. Also, the world you go to might have some adjustments if your wish requires such, said the voice inside my head. I began to think fiercely on my decisions for both the wishes and the world. Being too overpowered in a weak world would be incredibly boring, and being too weak on a strong world would be incredibly dangerous. After thinking for a while, I decided the world I wished to go to. My Hero Academia. The world with heroes and villains, and where more than 80% of the Earth's population have an ability called quirks. I've only watched the anime, and luckily for me I'm caught up with the latest season 5, but I never continued on with the manga. Now with this kind of world, the wishes I choose matters quite a bit. If I end up too powerful, I'm definitely going to be bored, but if I end up too weak, I'm probably dead. After 5-ish minutes of thinking, I thought about it like this. Pick a good, not too OP character to be, and something to help me learn. Then, I dug throughout my memories of all the anime and other stuff I've watched, and I came to what I thought was a pretty good character. My favorite character from the anime, 7 Deadly Sins. So first, the 7 Deadly Sins, Fox Sin of Greed, one of the main characters of SDS. Undead Ban. Aren't I a genius? The second wish is that I want to be able to acquire any anime abilities that I know of. Yes, I want to acquire them myself on my own, and if there are any anime abilities I don't know of, oh well. Good wishes, accepted. You'll be born 1 year before Izuku. Midoriya, good luck on your journey. It doesn't matter as we won't be meeting again, but anyway, goodbye Kenjin, the voice said in my head. Wait a second. May I request for something? I asked inside my mind. Since I'm feeling generous, I'll allow it. I've already read your mind on what you wanted to ask. Nobody will be able to steal, copy, or cancel any of your abilities, said the being inside my head. Thanks. I respectfully thought back. This would help immensely. I basically wouldn't have to worry about All for One, and wouldn't have to worry about anybody copying or cancelling my abilities like Aizawa or Monoma. It may sound weird, but if there was something I hated more than NTR, it would be people taking what is mine. Okay, NTR is definitely bad. But I've read way too many fanfictions where this bullshit happens. Now off you go, said the being in my head. Well, off towards my new life, where I'm definitely not going to die. How fun. 2, Chapter 2. It's a boy, was the 3 words I heard. Tiredly opening my eyes, I was greeted with the sight of a female doctor. Considering how big she appeared to be, I can conclude that I'm a baby. I really died, hey? If I were to be honest, I thought my death and meeting that being was just a super funky realistic dream. Knowing I would get to use the abilities I wishes for, I was completely excited, which caused a baby laugh to come out of my mouth. Unbeknownst to me, it prevented a hard slap to my ass. Regular POV. It's a boy, is what the previously preemie mother heard from the doctors. This could possibly be the best day of her life, and unfortunately her last. She knew once she was pregnant that the probability of living would be even lower because she had a very bad heart. At least she'd get to finally be with her husband, but her baby boy would unfortunately be without any parents. She could only hope her close friend Aiko and her husband will raise him well. It pained her to not be able to see her son grow up, but there was nothing she could do about it. Let me see my baby, said the woman after she heard an incredibly adorable laugh that came from her child. The female doctor immediately passed over her son and came over to help her hold him. After all, she was incredibly weak and could barely move. Now holding on to her son, she looked at him. My beautiful boy, she said weakly with tears in her eyes as she softly caressed his head. Mama won't be able to be there with you, but don't worry, I have some friends who'll take you in. They're very nice people, so treat them with respect, okay? She said as her voice began to crack up. I love you very much. Your father and I love you so much, she said to him as even more tears began to fall. Do you have a name for the baby, ma'am? The doctor asked with a sad tone. She knew the mother didn't have much time left. Ban Fumetsu, she said softly with a beautiful smile. She wanted to kiss her son's head, but unfortunately, her body gave out. A doctor took the baby from the now dead woman's arms. The doctor began to comfort the now crying baby and took him out of the room. It was as if the baby, now named Ban, understood exactly what was going on. Almost as if he knew his mother was now gone forever. The female doctor herself spilled out some tears from her eyes. The boy would grow up without any parents, but maybe that wasn't so true. Considering what the mother said. Ban's POV. I couldn't help it. The fact that I was a baby and couldn't control my emotions didn't help whatsoever. It's very unfortunate that my mother has passed away from birth, and from what I heard, I have no father either. I cried because it was extremely sad. The woman's last words, how devastated she looked, from what I could guess was because she would never be able to watch her baby grow. But the thing is, I most likely wouldn't have loved my mother if she was alive. Same case with my father. It may seem very harsh, but to me, they are strangers. I already had a mother who died when I was 10, and in my eyes, nobody could replace her. I already had a father who beat my ass all the time too, so It would have been extremely difficult to accept the love they had for me. Now I'm being carried and sent to the room with other babies. I began to think about my situation. From what my mother said, I most likely wouldn't be an orphan. She said she had some good friends and hopefully they weren't bad people. An hour later I began to hear voices coming from the door. He's right in here, Mrs. Yaeorozu. I heard a female doctor say. Wait a minute. Mrs. Yaeorozu? As in Momo's mother? Ah, I'm really quite lucky, aren't I? Isn't this a perfect opportunity to get closer to Momo? A girl who can create anything with the proper knowledge, plus she's also really pretty. What? Don't judge me. I did say I was going to live a life of fun. That doesn't mean I was going to think with my dick and fuck anything that's identified as a female. But yet, I had a couple girls that I wanted to pursue. My thoughts were interrupted when I felt myself being picked up. This woman, she had Momo's face, but with straight brown hair and brown eyes. I guess Momo takes after her father with the eyes and hair color. Oh, look how cute you are. Cooed Mrs. Yaeorozu to me as she softly caressed my head. I hope you will be a good boy, she said with a smile and light laugh. Good. I am a bad boy, I thought to myself. According to what she said, Momo has yet to be born. Of course it shouldn't be long till Mrs. Yaeorozu gets pregnant, because the being who brought me here said I would be 1 year younger than Izuku, which means I'll be older than Momo as well. I might as well make a good impression, right? So I giggled and laughed, which caused an immediate reaction. Ah, he's so adorable, Mrs. Yaeorozu said with a big smile. Just like this, 5 years went by. Chapter 3. 5 years later. It's early morning and the sun was shining. Inside a large room, one could see a 5-year-old boy sleeping peacefully on a very big bed. He had soft white skin and short black spiky hair that laid on top of his head. If you were to feel it, you'd be surprised on how soft it was. The boy opened his eyes to reveal 2 abyssal black eyes. This boy was none other than Ban Fumetsu, previously named Kenjin. It's been 5 years since he was brought into this world, and he noticed he didn't get Ban's powers right off the bat. He could only make the assumption that he'd awaken them in the form of a quirk once he was 4 or 5 years old. The problem was, he's been 5 years old for a couple months now and he hasn't shown any signs of awakening his quirk. He'd have to be patient. There was no use on stressing about it. After a long yawn, Ban got up from his bed and looked around his room. It was a very spacious room with his own comfortable huge bed, a resting area with a couch by the window, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and even his own personal bathroom. Ah, don't even get him started on the bathroom, which was larger than the room he had in his past life. I still can't believe I'm living this kind of rich life, he thought to himself. In his past life, he wouldn't call himself poor, but he would have never been able to live in a house like this. No, he would have never been able to even step foot inside of one. Getting off from his bed, Ban went to his bathroom to take a shower. Once he was finished, he put on regular white t-shirt with black sweatpants. When he was about to walk out of his room, his door flew open and a small figure ran inside. He instantly knew who it was. His adorable sister, Momo. Ban. Came the voice of the 4-year-old Momo. She came inside her brother's room with the intention of waking him up, but immediately frowned as she saw that he was already awake and done showering. Moo, I wanted to wake you up, brother, Momo said with a pout. How cute, Ban thought, as he walked up to her and pinched her cheeks. Momo immediately tried to escape his grasp, but he wouldn't let her off so easily. Ouch! What are you doing, Ban? Momo's childish voice rang out. He don't try to wake me up like that again, okay? He said to her as he let go and walked out of his room. Before, she'd used to wake him up while he was peacefully sleeping and he found it completely obnoxious. Momo would always say it was because he sleeps in too late, but that was simply not true. The others in the house just wake up way too early for his taste, but he eventually got used to it. Ban's POV. Come on, Momo, let's go eat breakfast. I said to my adorable little sister. I treat her as my little sister, and she treats me as her big brother. But well, I guess that's normal since she's a year and a couple months younger than me. Of course at first I found it a little weird because I've never had a sibling before. In my past life I was an only child, so having a little sister in my new life wasn't such a terrible feeling. Me and Momo arrived at the dining hall, and what greeted me was the two people who adopted me. Aiko Yaeorozu, the mother, and Jun Yaeorozu, the father. Good morning mother, father. I greeted to the two of them with Momo doing so as well. Even if I called them mother and father, in my heart, I didn't acknowledge it as so. It was just like with the situation with my birth mother of this world. I most likely would have not had any sort of love towards them because I saw them as strangers. Now it's the same with these two. The least I could do is act like it and show the respect that they deserve because honestly, I was grateful that these two parents took me in. Once again, I look back to how lucky I actually am. Compared to some fanfictions I read on where the main character has to struggle for money or live off the streets, my condition was much better. Maybe as time goes on I could love them as a son would. Just maybe. I mean they have already told me of how I was adopted. Well it was more so of me overhearing them talk about it, but that was just an excuse for me. Considering how intelligent I seemed to be for a child, they decided to spill the beans. Of course we've agreed not to tell Momo until she grew more mature. Good morning Ban, Momo. They both greeted back. So all four of us had a normal family breakfast, but that was until something happened to me. My vision suddenly became clearer and it felt like my surroundings slowed down a bit. I was startled at the sudden development, but when I heard Momo shout something, I started to feel excited. Regular POV. Ban. Why are your eyes red? Your hair's white too. Came the shout of Momo. She was sitting across from him so she instantly saw the change in his eyes and it scared her a bit. Her words caused the two parents to look at Ban with a slightly shocked expression. After all it was the same quirk his father had. His father, who went by the name Tatsumai Fumetsu, was a very successful doctor due to his quirk which gave him the ability to see inside a person's body down to the cellular level. Unfortunately he was killed when a villain attacked the nearby area when he was on his way to work. But there was something that caught their attention. Tatsumai's eyes would glow a scarlet red whenever he used his quirk, but Ban seemed to have something else. Why was his hair white? Could this be a second quirk? Maybe it had something to do with his mother's quirk as well? Ban's mother, Shiro, had the ability to regenerate herself to the point of broken bones and lost limbs. It was truly a marvelous quirk, but Shiro was never able to learn the full extent of it because of her naturally weak heart. She had to give up on ever doing hero business and chose to be a housewife instead. Ban, are you okay? It looks like you've awakened your quirk. Aiko said with a big smile. She was always worried that Ban would be saddened that his quirk hadn't awakened. Added to the fact that Momo had already awakened hers, she worried how Ban would feel. Haha, it seems like a strong one too. June laughs joyfully, even making Ban chuckle a bit. But an unexpected, immeasurable pain made Ban collapse to the floor. He began to clutch his chest and grit his teeth as the pain grew harsher. What the hell? What's going on? Ban thought. The last thing he heard were shouts of his name before he finally closed his eyes and lost consciousness. 4. Chapter 4. Regular POV. It's been a few hours since Ban has awakened his quirk and he collapsed in the middle of the dining room. After Ban passed out, Aiko and June quickly rushed to the hospital to see if there was anything serious going on with him. They really hoped the sudden pain was just part of his quirk awakening. They'd be devastated if Ban had a weak heart just like his mother. Thankfully that wasn't the case, and it was just his quirk manifesting. His second quirk to be exact. That's what stunned them. 2 quirks. One of them being a mutated version of his father's, and the other possibly being a mutated version as his mother's. They knew with these 2 powers, their son had the potential to be someone great. Ban's POV. Opening my eyes, I could tell I was at the hospital. I didn't even have to look around because my room had the standard smell that all hospitals seem to have. Sitting up on the bed, I began to stretch my body, only for me to notice something. I felt amazing. My body felt so energized. I felt like I had so much power compared to yesterday. I could only make the assumption that it's my abilities finally awakening. This is great. Is this what it feels like to have powers? It's definitely something I never thought would happen. I was just a normal old teenager in my past life, so you should understand that this was a pretty fantastic experience. I mean, everyone has dreamed of having a superpower one day, right? You must be lying if you haven't. Oh, you're awake. We'll inform your parents right away. Was what a male doctor said before he left seconds later. I sighed and wondered how long I've been here. They must have been very worried on how I suddenly collapsed. Especially Momo. I'm pretty sure I heard someone crying before I blacked out. I laid back down on the bed to wait for the arrival of Momo, Aiko, and June. I didn't have to wait long because minutes later I heard the door open and a small figure ran inside the room. Big brother! Momo shouted as she ran towards me. She seemed to have some tears in her eyes and looked extremely happy to see me. Holding on to her as she hugged me, I said with a smile. It's okay, Momo. I'm fine. You gave us a good scare there. June said with a laugh, as he walked in with Aiko and patted my shoulder. He didn't look so worried, and I could only guess that it was because the doctor had already confirmed that I was completely fine. Are you sure you're okay, Ban? You seem to be in so much pain. Aiko, who compared to her husband, was still completely worried about me. Even if the doctor had already confirmed that nothing was wrong with me, I guess she just wanted to hear it from myself. I'm okay, Mom, I finally awakened my quirk. I said with a genuine, excited tone. Regular POV. As the male doctor who was in charge of taking care of Ban came in, he was greeted to the sight of the parents and daughter looking at the boy with an awe expression. He was confused until he saw the boy with his new quirk. His eyes had become red, with an abyssal black in the middle, almost like it would swallow you whole. It did confuse the doctor on how this child gained this type of quirk when his parents' quirks weren't even close to being similar. That was until the parents explained that he was adopted, which completely shocked him. To him and everybody else, Ban looked like he could be their biological son. If someone were to say that they were siblings to a person who never met Ban and Momo before and didn't know that they were close, they'd definitely 100% believe it. Ban, it seems like you have a rare case of being born with two quirks. One of them being your unique eyes, and the other is a regenerative type quirk that we weren't able to do much of anything with. The doctor said to the parents. Thank you, doctor, so he's fine to leave? Asked Aiko with a concerned tone. Even when the doctors and even Ban himself confirmed that he was completely fine, she wanted to make sure and double check, like any mother would. Yup, he's all good to go, but he'll have to name his quirks before he leaves. And give us a description on what his quirk does and how it works. The doctor said with a smile as he looked at Ban, whose eyes were now a Ferrari red. Ban himself didn't have any difficulty on figuring out names for his quirk. He did wonder though if it was really two separate quirks or just one all together, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter at all. For my eyes, I'll name them Ultimate Eyes. From what I've seen, it granted me incredible clarity of perception and everything seems to slow down a bit. For my regeneration, I'll name it Immortal, and the only thing I've discovered so far is that I feel very energized and my body feels stronger. Ban said. Of course he knew the full extent on just exactly what his quirks could do, but he wasn't about to blurt out a full-on description of his abilities. He wasn't a moron. Well, even if he did, it's not like they could experiment on him or try to lock him up somewhere. He had the backing of the Yaoyorozu family after all. But he'd still have to be careful. He'll have to train very harder and be strong enough to the point where no villain would ever think of attacking him and his loved ones. Ban ignored the weird looks he was getting for choosing such names for his quirks. After that was done, he and his family went back home where he would plan his training for the upcoming years. 2 years later. 5. Chapter 5. Currently, in the forest next to the Yaeorozu mansion, one could see a male youth figure running up the trees and jumping from branch to branch. The boy was obviously Ban, who was currently training his quirk. His looks haven't really changed since 2 years ago, other than getting taller and his hair growing longer. He has refused to get a haircut because he did plan to keep up the long hair thing. How could he not? He thought it was pretty badass. If there was anyone who could pull off the long-haired look while looking so badass, then it was definitely Ban. For the past 2 years, Ban has been training his quirk with the best of his ability. During the first year of training, he focused on his control, doing focal exercises, tree walking and water walking. At first it was pretty frustrating, as he kept failing, but after some time, he could easily walk and run on water with no trouble at all. He also started to do body exercises with the use of their indoor gym. Ah! Gotta love being rich. It was truly a blessing. During the second year, Ban has been taking martial arts lessons from a friend of his father named Kaiso alongside with Momo. He completely surprised his parents and Kaiso with how much of a prodigy he seemed to be and how easily he picked it up. Momo, seeing how much stronger her older brother was, began to admire him even more, and it also encouraged her to work much harder when training. Now jumping from branch to branch on trees that were at least the height of a regular modern house, Ban was maneuvering through obstacles that he set up for himself, while shooting bow shurikens towards targets that were stuck onto the trees. He seemed so focused as he gracefully moved through the obstacles with his ultimate eyes active. Finishing, he went to go check his results. Most of them hit around the bullseye and only a couple actually hit straight in the middle. It was to be expected that he didn't get a perfect score, after all he's only just started using the bow shurikens and doing this type of training. Walking back inside the mansion, he arrived in the living room and saw his mother Aiko sitting on the sofa. Over the past 2 years, he's gradually and slowly started to accept his adopted parents. Looking over at her, he noticed that she seemed to be dressed as if she was going to go somewhere soon. "How was your training, Ban?" She greeted him with a smile. "It's going great, I feel like I'm progressing pretty fast with the bow shurikens," Ban told her as he walked towards the kitchen to get a glass of water. "Well, that's great, but don't you think you've been training way too much lately? Why don't you take a break?" Aiko asked her son. Ban sighed slightly, as he could guess where this was going. "Well, I'm going towards my room to go and take a nap. That counts as a break for me," he replied, before he began to down the glass of water. "Well, why don't you come with me and Momo, we're going out soon," Aiko said to Ban. "Are you going to the park again? You know I don't really like going there. I would rather stay home." Lately, Aiko has been taking Momo to the park to play with other kids. His mother and sister has been trying to get him to come with them, but in the end, they could never convince him. He'd rather stay home and train, and he didn't feel like interacting with kids. It would simply bore him to death. "Please, brother. I want you to meet my friend," came the cute voice of his little sister Momo, who seemed to be freshly dressed. She walked up to him for a hug, but he stopped her advancement. "I can tell. You just finished getting ready, Momo, and I'm pretty sweaty right now," Ban said to her. Momo just pouted and said that doesn't matter. "Why are you being so mean?" Ban sighed and patted her head, which immediately calmed her down. "Calm down, Momo, now why don't you tell me who this friend of yours is?" he said as he continued to stroke her head. "Her name's Nejire. She's 2 years older than us," Momo said with a big smile. Aiko smiled as well, happy that her daughter found a friend that she liked so much. Ban's POV. "Nejire? That's her new friend? Well shit, is this my insane luck once again?" Fuck a break, I'm definitely going with them now. Yes, she should be about 8 years old right now, but forming a friendship this early with her and becoming her childhood friend should help a ton. You know what, Momo, I'll go to the park with you today. Maybe you could introduce me to your new friend as well. I said to Momo as I pat her head. A huge smile blossomed onto her face as she attempted to hug me, but I stopped her once again. I looked over to my mother Aiko and said, just give me 20 minutes and I'll be ready. I'm going to go take a shower, I said as I ran up towards my room. Regular POV. A few hours later you can see 3 kids sitting on the grass next to each other. One of them with black hair, one of them with unique periwinkle colored hair, and the other white ice white hair. When Ban and Momo arrived at the park, Momo dragged him along to go find her new friend. At first when he met Nejire, he was annoyed at the little girl's constant questioning, but was able to calm her down. Apparently Momo had bragged to Nejire that her brother had a super strong quirk, and it seemed Nejire has always been a high-spirited girl because she ended up asking endless questions about his quirks once she saw him. Other than that, he got along with her pretty well, which unknown to him made Aiko very happy. The mother has always been worried about Ban. He didn't show any interest on things a kid his age would and never interacted with any kids except for Momo. So seeing him getting along with Nejire eased her worries. And just like that, time flew by, as Ban and Momo would start middle school soon. 6. Chapter 6. Since that day, Ban would go to the park with Momo to hang out with Nejire. Other kids would attempt to hang out with them, but were scared off by him. It honestly seemed as though he was a cold person to those who weren't close to him. The 3 grew closer to the point where Nejire would even sometimes visit their house. It wouldn't be a stretch to call the 3 of them best friends. Ban continued with his training and has started trying to replicate some of Ban's moves as well. He even thought about learning other SDS abilities, such as magic and things like full counter. It may be a bit cliché, but he had to admit that the being immortal was pretty convenient. He could train and train and train, but no matter what, he would heal in full. He's also shown Momo how to use the bow shurikens, since considering her quirk, she'd basically have an endless supply. She was definitely not as good as Ban, but she could still possibly catch someone off guard in the future. Kaiso, Ban's and Momo's martial arts teacher, has started to take his lessons on a whole other level. Kaiso would make him spar with him without the use of his ultimate eyes active and teach him other styles as well. Momo has also been finding new ways to improve her quirk and would soon take lessons on how to handle weapons alongside with him. Ban himself didn't know what weapon he wanted as his primary yet, but he'd stick with the standard bow shuriken for now. Although he did have a few ideas for some specific weapons he wanted made. It was late afternoon, and right now in the Yaeorazu mansion you could see a white-haired boy swimming in their indoor pool alongside another. Lately Ban had taken a liking to swimming. He'd enjoyed it in his past life. But he would rarely get to go to the beach or a pool since it was too far, and there was never any public pools nearby. Luckily for him, being in an ever-so-rich family, he had access to an indoor pool inside the mansion. It was quite very convenient for him when he'd train with breathing techniques and walking on water. He'd even sometimes swim multiple laps with weights on, but right now he was only here to relax in the water with Momo. Momo was trying her best to swim as fast as she can with Ban chasing behind her. Looking back, she saw no signs of him, which instantly confused her. It also made her a bit worried, but suddenly, Kya! Momo let out a loud screech as she suddenly felt herself being dragged underwater. Seconds later she came up, wiped her face, and saw her older brother looking at her with a playful smile. "Why'd you do that, big brother?" Momo said with a pout. I specifically remember you saying to try and catch you," Ban quipped back teasingly. Seeing her gain a small blush from embarrassment, he huffed a laugh which caused him to receive an angry glare from her. "Hey, don't be too mad, all right? Let's go ahead and get out. We've been in here for about an hour, and I bet dinner's already ready by now." Ban spoke as he pulled her into his arms. Momo nodded as she instantly calmed down. Big brother, your hair is getting so long, she said to him as she noticed his hair going past his neck. Having his hair soaked in water did make it seem like it was longer than it was already is, so he could see her point of view. Yeah, I guess so, now come on, I'll race you towards the other end before we get out. Ban challenged Momo as he let go of her and smirked slightly. Okay. But let me count down first. Momo said so with a little mischievous smile plastered on her cute face. He could already tell that she was up to something, but was honestly looking forward to it. Seeing Ban nod his head in agreement, Momo began to slowly count down from 5, but once she got to the number 3, she instantly started swimming to the other side. Of course she would, why am I not surprised? Ban thought to himself as he began to get up and stand on the surface of the pool. Momo, who was still swimming, looked back just to see her brother running on the water surface, and not even seconds later, he was already at the end of the pool. Oh, come on. You weren't even swimming, that's unfair. Momo said as she got out of the water with a cute pout. Ban just laughed her off and dried himself with a towel, before walking out of the swimming area. Ha, I guess we're both cheaters since you started first. Anyway, I'm gonna go take a shower, I'll see you at dinner. Ban spoke to Momo as he walked off towards his room. Currently, the Yaoyorozu family were in the dining room eating dinner. Ban and Momo had already showered and cleaned up before this, so they looked nice and neat. So, kids, your mother and I have decided to put the both of you in a public school. What are your thoughts about it? June questioned suddenly, inciting a look of surprise and happiness from Momo. He asked the both of them. Since both Ban and Momo had been homeschooled up until now, therefore, going to a public would definitely be very different. Momo looked excited and Ban stayed composed, but he did raise an eyebrow at his mother's next words. You'll also be going to Nejire's middle school, and although she'll be going into her 3rd year when you arrive, I'm sure the two of you will still enjoy your time there. Aiko spoke with a warm smile, making June smile as well. Then just like that, their middle school had days started. It's only been around half a year since they started middle school, and Ban would usually keep to himself, only hanging around Momo and Nejire due to their closeness. Even though he'd never bothered anyone, minding his own business, there were some annoying boys who were jealous of his looks and popularity with girls. With his unique and pristine looks, as well as him hanging out with the 2 hottest girls, he naturally attracted unwanted attention. Some of the older kids tried to intimidate him at some point, but all it took was a single glare with his ultimate eyes active to scare them away. Compared to Ban, Momo actually interacted with the other kids, but it wasn't any sort of deep friendship like the one she has with Nejire. She also didn't talk to or hang around any of the boys, just some of the girls her age, making Ban relieved. Currently, Ban was sitting on the rooftop with Momo on his left, and the Periwinkle to his right. He, alongside Momo and Nejire were eating their lunch, however Nejire was just there pestering him with her non-stop talk of the 2. Nejire, you gotta stop skipping your classes to come up here. Didn't you want to get into UA? He spoke to her as he looked into her royal blue eyes. Nejire pouted and replied back with, what? You don't want me up here with you? Of course I do, all I'm doing is looking out for you. Ban said that as he patted her head with a soft smile. Noticing the small blush on her cheeks, he began to think of how close he's gotten with Nejire. Even though she's in her 3rd year of middle school, and is currently 14 years old, he still hasn't confessed any sort of feelings towards her. Over the years, the two grew close to the point where it was easy to tell that Nejire had feelings him, which in turn made him quite happy. Well, I know the teachers don't mind it if I skip a class or 2. Plus, my grades are the top of the class, and I don't cause any trouble for them. Nejire said to him. She was a little disappointed at the loss of his hand on her head, but relinquished the thought. Yeah, she's possibly the nicest person in the school, and I'm sure the Teachers don't have the heart to punish someone as innocent as Nejire. Momo spoke with a playful laugh, causing Nejire to laugh as well. Looking to his left, Ban observed Momo and began to think about how their relationship took a different turn once he and their parents revealed that he was adopted before they started school. Ban remembered that it was around that time where Momo started to cling to him even more. What caused her to do so? He had a pretty good guess on why, and he definitely wasn't going to complain about it, not one bit. Hearing the bell ring for their next class, the three got up and started to leave for their next class. See you later Nejire, I guess we'll meet after the last bell rings. Momo said so with her usual smile. Noticing the periwinkle girl just standing there not going to her class, Ban asked with minimal worry. What's wrong? You're just going to leave without giving me a hug? Nejire said to the long white-haired boy. Since Ban and Momo had the same classes, they always walked together. But Nejire, who was a third-year student, didn't have any classes that were near theirs, so she couldn't walk with them. Then come here, Ban said as he spread his arms. Nejire immediately wrapped hers around his torso. With Ban being pretty tall for his age, standing at 5 foot 9 inches, Nejire only had her head to his chest. She was only 5 foot 4 after all. Separating from Ban with a pink blush on her cheeks, Nejire looked at the two with a big smile and said, "Bye. See you guys later." After looking at Nejire cheerfully skip towards her class, Ban turned towards Momo and noticed the pout on her face. "What? Do you want one too?" he asked. Seeing her avoid his eyes, Ban smirked slightly and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. "All you needed to do was ask," he lightly teased into her ear. "Stupid brother." Momo quietly spoke on her breath as she wrapped her arms around his torso, holding onto him tightly. Even after discovering that she and Ban weren't blood-related, Momo still sometimes called him brother. "Ban." Momo called out to him still in his arms. He responded back. "Do you like her, Nejire, I mean? It's so obvious that she has feelings for you, even our parents see it. They tease you behind your back a bit too." Ignoring that last part, Ban replied to her, and said, "I'm going to be honest and say I do have feelings for her as well, and I've noticed hers." Momo stayed silent at those words and even put her head down onto his chest, but immediately looked up at him when she heard his next words. "But I also have feelings for you as well, Momo." Ban spoke with a soft chuckle, and smiled once he saw her looking at him with a surprised expression on her face. He decided to say fuck it and tell her now. What did you say? You like me?" Momo questioned. "What? Do you want me to say it again? Of course I like you. I thought it was pretty obvious if I were to be honest." Ban spoke to her as he gazed into her black eyes with his own scarlet eyes. "But I also like Nejire as well. Would you ever want to be with a selfish guy like me? One who covets?" He said that as he separated from her and unwrapped his arms, but what Momo said next shocked him a little. "Yes." Momo said so as she jumped at him and wrapped her arms around his strong neck. "Hey? What are you saying? I said I like the both of you and I can't just disregard Nejire's feelings." Ban spoke as he softly put his arms around her waist, pulling her closer. "Then, we'll talk to her, and make sure it works out in a way that make none of us unhappy. You know there could be more girls later down the line." He could have definitely ruined the moment with these words, but Ban decided to test his luck with her. After all, his luck has never failed him. After a couple seconds of silence, Momo finally said, "Only if we accept them." "Hey? And who's we?" he questioned her. "Me and Nejire, of course." "Momo, who knows if Nejire would accept that? You make it sound like she's sure to accept." Ban said to her. "Of course she would. There's no way she wouldn't considering how much she likes you. Like I said, we'll talk to her about it." "Ha ha ha. What are you saying, Momo?" Ban spoke to her with slight surprise, a little shocked that she'd accepted this fast. "I'm saying that I love you." Momo said so with a huge blush on her cheeks, as she looked straight into his scarlet eyes. Are you certain? Ban questioned her softly, taking small glances at her lips. 100% she responded with a whisper, noticing where he was looking. Hearing those words, Ban instantly pulled her in and met her lips with his. A little surprised, Momo stayed still for a second, but got out of it and kissed him back with equal passion. Needless to say, they were totally late for class. Throughout the whole day, Momo had a smile on her face and felt extremely happy. I mean, how could she not? She was finally with the person she loved. It was now the end of the day, which was around the time her and Ban planned to meet up with Nejire. But this time, Momo left Ban and told him to wait for her at the school entrance, because she needed to use the bathroom. Of course she didn't go to the bathroom, she went to go find Nejire as fast as she could, planning on talking to her about her relationship with Ban. Nejire! She shouted to the periwinkle as she saw her coming out of a classroom. Hi, Momo! Nejire greeted her with a big smile, but was confused when she didn't see a familiar long white-haired boy. Where's Ban? She questioned. He's waiting at the front of the school. Okay, then let's go meet up with him. Nejire said as she started walking, but stopped as she felt a tug on her sleeve. What's wrong, Momo? She asked. Can we talk? Just the two of us? It's very important. Momo spoke seriously while looking into Nejire's royal blue eyes. Seeing the periwinkle nod her head, Momo gestured for Nejire to follow her, then went to go find a secluded place, which was behind the school. Okay, Momo, what's wrong? Did something happen? Are you alright? No, everything is completely fine. Although I'm going to need you to tell me the truth on whatever I ask you, okay? Momo spoke to her with the same seriousness from before. You also like Ban, right? These words startled Nejire. What was she supposed to say? Of course she liked him, and of course she knew Momo did as well. It was pretty obvious to notice considering the fact that they hang out almost every day. Of course. If it was easy for me to tell that Momo likes Ban, then it should have been as easy for Momo to notice my feelings as well. Gosh, what do? I don't want to ruin my friendship with Momo over this. Nejire thought inside her head, and she was pretty certain that Momo knew now. Almost as if reading her mind, Momo spoke to Nejire in a softer tone. It's alright, after all I like him too. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Relieved after hearing her words, Nejire began to think about the situation. It was pretty weird for Momo to suddenly talk to her about this in this setting. Wait, why did you choose now to talk to me about this? Nejire questioned. Momo. Well, it's because me and Ban confessed to each other after lunch. Momo replied with a blush on her face. Nejire instantly became shocked. Wait, what? Confessed to each other? Meaning they like one another. But he said he liked you, Nejire. We both planned to talk to you about it later, but I wanted to talk to you first. Momo said to her. What? He said he liked me too. Nejire questioned with a tint of hope in her voice. But are you willing to share him with me? Although he did say there might be other women. Am I willing to share him? Momo is already fine with it, but am I really alright with sharing him? I know most of the girls at school clearly like him. But he hasn't talked to a single one or gave them attention, meaning he's not some playboy. Momo said he liked me as well, which already makes me so happy, because I feel the same. It's either this or not be with him all together, no. Why would I want that? After years of containing these feelings, why would I ruin this chance? Nejire thought all of this inside of her mind. Then, having made her decision, Nejire told Momo she was okay with it. She liked him as well, causing the black-haired girl to hug her with a huge smile. But they heard a familiar voice which caused them to jump. Looking up, they saw Ban standing horizontally on the wall, with no effort or difficulty. Ban himself could already tell Momo was lying about using the bathroom. So he followed her, and listened in on their conversation. Jumping down without a sound, Ban walked up to them, and said, "Wow! Momo! I didn't know you'd make a good wingman, and what happened to using the bathroom?" I'm sorry Ban, I wanted to talk to her about it before you did." Momo said with her head down, thinking he was upset with her. Ban just walked up to Momo, lifted up her chin, and gazed into her eyes. "It's alright Momo, I'm not mad at you, instead, I should thank you for talking to Nejire. It seems like you convinced her." After saying those words, Ban gave her a sudden kiss on the lips, which caused the two girls to blush in embarrassment. "So is it true? Do you really like me?" Nejire spoke up while looking down, slightly, twiddling with her fingertips as she said so. Ban didn't have anything else to say. All he did was walk up to her, and before she could react, he gave her a deep kiss to the lips. They say actions speak louder than words after all. Letting her lips go, Ban put his right hand on her cheek and stroked it with his thumb. "Does that answer your question?" And the royal blue-eyed girl cutely nodded. "You know there will probably be other girls later on, right?" he outrightly said. It was the exact thing he said to Momo, and now he wanted to ask Nejire. "Only if me and Momo accept them." Nejire said so as she tried to sound intimidating, but it wound up making her look cuter than ever. Letting out a small laugh, Ban wrapped his right arm around her and pulled her to his chest, while he wrapped his other arm around Momo's waist. "You guys really are kind of similar. Come on, you can just come straight to our house Nejire. I'm sure your parents wouldn't mind it." So, with that said and done, Ban walked back to the Yaeorazu mansion, which was quite close by, with his new two girlfriends in his arms. This was definitely a day he would never forget. 2 years later. 7. Chapter 7 *. Ban's POV. It's almost here, the start of canon, which I've been waiting for so long. Middle school has finally ended, and it should be around this time that Izuku Midoriya meets All Might, and passes on his quirk. Will I interfere with the situation? No. Am I going to help Izuku? Most definitely not. In my past life when I watched the anime, I never really understood why Izuku hadn't done anything to stop the bullying. I mean sure, having no quirk is reasonable, but at the same time he didn't talk about it to his mother, Inko, or even Katsuki's mother. Although that could be because of his fear of making it worse, but still, he should have done something. He even tried going to UA without training his body, the least he could have would have been taking any sort of martial arts classes. It really did confuse me. He was truly lucky to meet All Might, but his luck could naturally never be compared to mine. On the day Momo and Nejire became my girlfriends, we ended up telling our parents and they fully supported it. A normal parent would find our relationship weird, but I guess them watching us grow up together, and having seen how much we really liked each other, made them happy in the end. Although Aiko teased the three of us, embarrassing Momo and Nejire, I myself wasn't embarrassed at all. I was truly proud to have them with me. Over the 2 years we've been dating, our relationship had progressed to the point where Momo sleeps in my room every night and Nejire would do so as well when she would come for sleepovers. We haven't done the deed yet as I thought Momo still hadn't developed yet. But she definitely has now. She looks like her canon self, and let me tell you, the anime really does her no justice whatsoever. The same goes for my beautiful Nejire. With her being older and developing faster, we could have done the deed, but she wanted to do it together with Momo, so we waited. Now that they were both developed, I naturally couldn't wait for the day where we all lose our virginity. Yes, I was a virgin in my past life, but it wasn't like I never had a girlfriend or kissed a girl before. The most I've had before was a blowjob, but it never escalated to actual sex. Now it's not like Momo, Nejire, and I haven't done anything together. We're very touchy with each other, and we'd do sexual activities occasionally, but we'd always stop before it went to that stage. Now, enough of my relationship with Momo and Nejire, let's talk about Something I'm very excited about. My powers improved immensely since I continued to train every day, exposing myself to the elements, and doing strenuous physical exercises. With my regenerative immortality grow stronger, I tried exposing myself to more lethal things instead of just fire, water, and electricity. It was extremely difficult because of continuously damaging things like acid. But I pushed through, and came out stronger than ever, with the ability to bathe in acid as if it was water. Even if it was hard to do so, I never stopped trying new things, making big improvements here and there. With my martial arts excelling and improving exponentially over time, I could now easily defeat my teacher Kaiso without the use of ultimate eyes. But with it, was way too easy. He used to play around with me before, but now it was the other way around. I made him quite angry sometimes, and it made sense. I mean, he was a martial arts master after all, still is. But we both knew it wouldn't be long till I was able to kick the ass of any martial artist without using ultimate eyes, and that would be even more if I were to use it. I've always continued to train my body well, and I've also been learning how to use various weapons, focusing on one in particular. Why? Well, because it had something to do with the main weapon I'll be using. I still remember showing the designs to my parents and asking them to be made. Although they did find the weapons quite weird looking, they still accepted my request nonetheless. They also said that all of them should be finished before UA starts, so I'll have some time to train with it. Why are you up so early, Ban? A voice I sounded out next to me. And I looked over to my left. Seeing my beautiful blue-eyed girlfriend gazing at me with sleepy expression, I smiled and inspected her. The only things she only had on were a pair of navy blue panties, and a black shirt that looked quite big for her. Plus, considering how I could see the outline of her nipples, I could tell she didn't have a bra on. I was just in my thoughts. You know how I wake up early anyway. I said to her, separating from the other body that clung onto my right. I moved towards Nejire and brought her onto my lap, facing me. While I had my back to the head of the bed, Nejire positioned herself so her creamy white legs were wrapped around my waist and her arms around my neck. Feeling her nipples rubbing against my naked chest was quite the treat. However, it was getting a bit difficult for my man downstairs. For a girl who just woke up, you seem to have a lot of energy, I said, placing my hands on her waist, then moving them up and down her sides. Nejire just cutely giggled as she moved my long hair out of the way and started to place kisses on my neck. Good morning to you too. I grunted softly as I placed my hands on her thighs, and spoke into her ears. If you keep doing that. Interrupting me, Nejire started to grind herself on my semi-hard-on. Keep doing what? She said as she started tracing my jawline with kisses, nibbling my earlobe occasionally. Nejire, I said to her as I squeezed her waist. I still can't believe it's this big. She said in a whisper as she slid her right hand down over my body, slowly feeling up my abs, and then finally grabbed onto my dick through my sweatpants. You're going to destroy me when we finally have sex. She said, slowly stroking it. Moving my hands down towards her plump and juicy ass, I squeezed her buns softly, letting my fingers sink into them. We'll do it slowly then. I replied back, starting to kiss her neck. What she said next made me harder than I already was. No, I don't want to do it slowly, I want to be able to feel you deep in my stomach. She said with a sultry tone in my ears. Jesus, who knew the kind, talkative, and curious girl would have this side of her. She was like an entirely different person when we're alone. Before it could escalate to anything else, we both paused our activities as we heard a sleepy voice. You guys are at it this early in the morning, said my other beautiful girlfriend, Momo. Good morning, Momo. Me and Nejire said at the same time. Nejire went to move herself off my lap, but I wrapped my left arm around her shoulder, inciting her to snuggle into me, and hide her face within my neck. Despite what we were doing earlier, I could tell she was still very tired. See Mir, Momo. I said to her as I spread my right arm open. She immediately snuggled up to me as well, giving me a kiss on the lips right after. You guys want to go back to bed, or get up early? I asked them, and the only response I got was the two girls putting me on my back as they snuggled in even closer. Well, I guess that answers my question. It's only 5 AM right now, so we still have a lot of time. I said to them. We only have about 3 hours actually. I have to go to Ryako's at 8, so we should probably put on an alarm. Nejire said to me. Ryako Tatsuma was the same hero Nejire worked for in canon, and it was the same here. Putting on an alarm for 7:30, me, and my two girls, soundly went back to sleep. Regular POV. The trio of Nejire, Momo, and the white-haired Ban ended up awaking earlier than they intended to, at 6:30. So they took a shower together, and got dressed. Unsurprisingly, Ban and Momo's parents were up early, so they all ate breakfast together. After breakfast, they all gathered around the living room because Aiko and June had something to say to both Ban and Momo. What's wrong, Mom, Dad? Did something happen? Momo questioned her parents with a look of slight confusion and worry. No, sweetie, your father and I only have good news to share, Aiko said with a smile, easing away Momo's worries. So, what is it? Ban spoke to them as he tilted his head back on the couch. And even when he could guess exactly what they were here for, he still asked. Well, we've sent a recommendation for the two of you and they accepted. Although you'll still have to go get your quirk tested out, since they have a different entrance exam for recommended kids who all have a very strong quirk in their own right. June said. Ban stayed silent and contemplated, while Momo looked quite excited herself. In fanfictions, he'd read how the main character would reject a recommendation because of some bullshit like it wouldn't be fair or how they wanted to enter UA on their own. Yeah, fuck that, he was definitely taking the recommendation. So? What do you guys think about it? Aiko asked, smiling once again as they agreed to it. Great. Oh, and Ban, your weapon is finally finished. You could consider this as your gift since I know you've been working extremely hard. June said as he motioned to the corridor. Seconds later, several butlers and maidservants walked into the room carrying pitch-black boxes. Once they set it on the ground in between Ban and his parents, they silently walked out. With a bow. Opening the cases one by one, Ban looked inside the main one and saw a long black staff with 3 red rings. Seeing these, he smiled. Ban flipped it into the air, causing the black staff to split into 4 segments. Whoa, Ban, what is that? What does it do? Wait, why'd you ask for long nunchucks as a weapon? Nejire asked, curiosity written all over her face. The black staff naturally turned into a familiar weapon. The Kurekhouse, a 4-section staff, and Ban's sacred treasure. Well, it wasn't the original. And it looked nothing like it, but he was really hoping he could do some of the moves Ban was able to in SDS. But, since this wasn't the original, he wasn't so sure about it. Don't worry. I made some slight adjustments on the staff so it could work like the original, but you'll have to train with it well. Don't worry, kid. This is really the last time I'll ever interfere with your life. The familiar voice of God which he heard before caused him to be shocked. Calming himself, Ban closed his eyes and said in his mind, thank you very much. However, he'll have to train incredibly hard with it for the next 10 months. Until UA started. And like that, 3 months passed by and it was time for the recommendation entrance exam.